For years they've been telling you a lie wrapped in the language of public safety. They told you that stripping you of your standard capacity magazines would make your family safer. They told you 10 rounds were enough. They drew a line in the sand and dared you to cross it, turning millions of law-abiding American citizens into potential felons overnight, simply for owning the same tools that law enforcement uses to protect themselves. But what if that entire narrative just came crashing down? In a political earthquake that has shaken the very foundation of gun control in America, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, long considered the most hostile battleground for the Second Amendment, has just issued a landmark decision in Duncan versus Bonta. A decision so powerful, it doesn't just end California's magazine ban. It puts every single magazine ban across the entire nation on death row. This isn't just a news report. This is a declaration of war being won. Welcome to Second Amendment Sentinel, your frontline report in the fight for your rights. In this video, we will not only break down what this ruling means, we will explain the domino effect that is about to sweep across states like New York, New Jersey, and Illinois. And most importantly, we will tell you what you must do now to protect this victory. Because this isn't the end of the fight. This is just the beginning. Ruling? Let's get straight to the facts. Chapter 1. California's long war on gun owners. For decades, California has been the laboratory for anti-gun politicians. In 2000, they banned the sale and import of magazines holding more than 10 rounds. But that wasn't enough. By 2016, they escalated their assault, making even the simple possession of these magazines a potential felony. Suddenly, millions of you were faced with an impossible choice. Surrender your property, destroy it, or become a criminal in the eyes of the state. But here is the truth they never wanted you to hear. High capacity is a political lie. These are standard capacity magazines. The Glock 17, one of America's most popular handguns, comes standard with a 17-round magazine. The AR-15, the most common rifle in America, comes standard with a 30-round magazine. These are not exotic tools of war. They are the normal, common, and essential equipment for self-defense. This injustice led to Chapter 2, the week that shook the system, Freedom Week. In 2019, one brave judge, Judge Roger Benitez, issued a ruling that stunned the nation. He declared the magazine ban unconstitutional, and for one glorious week, freedom was restored. What happened? Over 1 million standard capacity magazines flooded into California. Gun shops sold out in hours. And did the state descend into chaos as the politicians predicted? No. Crime didn't skyrocket. It was a powerful demonstration that law-abiding citizens simply wanted the same rights as everyone else. But that freedom was short-lived, and the legal battle raged on, leading us to the moment that changed everything. The deep dive breakdown. This victory was not an accident. It was forged in the fire of another landmark Supreme Court case, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen. This is Chapter 3, the death of balancing tests. Before Bruen, courts used a deceptive trick called a balancing test. A state would claim a gun law was for public safety, and judges, more often than not, would simply agree, balancing your constitutional rights away. But Bruen destroyed that framework. The Supreme Court established a new crystal-clear test: text, history, and tradition. If a gun law is not consistent with the original text of the Second Amendment, and not supported by the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation, it is unconstitutional. Period. No more balancing, no more excuses. When you apply this honest test, magazine bans crumble into dust. Why? Because there is zero history in America of limiting ammunition capacity. The Founding Fathers didn't just want citizens to have muskets. They wanted them to have effective common-use weapons for defense against all threats, both foreign and domestic. The principle was clear. The people should not be outgunned. This brings us to Chapter 4, the landmark victory in Duncan versus Bonta. Armed with the power of the Bruen decision, the case returned to the Ninth Circuit. The plaintiffs argued that under the text, history, and tradition test, California's ban was an unconstitutional relic. And in a decision that sent shockwaves through the nation, the Ninth Circuit agreed. They struck down the ban. They admitted that standard capacity magazines are in common use and are therefore protected arms under the Second Amendment. This wasn't just another court case. It was a constitutional reckoning. If even the notoriously liberal Ninth Circuit could not find a way to uphold this ban, the writing was on the wall for every other state. What it means for you. This is the part that truly matters. This isn't just about California. This is about your rights in your state. Chapter 5. This is about survival, not preference. Gun control advocates love to ask, who needs more than 10 rounds? That is the wrong question. The real question is, who are they to decide how many rounds you need to survive? The reality of self-defense is brutal and unpredictable. Home invasions, like the one in Houston where a man was forced to fire more than 10 rounds to stop 4 armed intruders, are not one-on-one duels. They are chaotic, high-stress encounters where accuracy plummets. Police officers understand this. They routinely carry firearms with 15, 17, or more rounds, plus spare magazines. They are not held to a 10-round limit, because the state knows that is not enough to guarantee survival. So, why should you be? Forcing you to reload in the middle of a life-or-death fight could be a death sentence. That's why this ruling is a monumental victory. But don't celebrate just yet. Chapter 6. California's counterattack has already begun. They are trying to achieve death by 1,000 cuts. If they can't ban your magazines, they will try to ban where you can carry, require you to buy expensive liability insurance, and bury you in so much paperwork that exercising your right becomes impossible. These new schemes are already facing lawsuits, and we will win those too. But the most immediate impact is Chapter 7, the domino effect. This ruling is a weapon that is now being used in courtrooms across America. New York, lawsuits are already citing Duncan to dismantle the SAFE Act's 10-round cap. New Jersey, its 10-round limit is now on life support. Illinois, the state's recent sweeping ban on standard rifles and magazines is now facing a direct challenge, armed with the Duncan precedent. Hawaii, Washington, and others. Every state with a similar ban is now vulnerable. What started in California is no longer a local skirmish. It is a national crusade, and the dominoes are beginning to fall. The Ninth Circuit's decision in Duncan versus Bonta is more than just a ruling. It is a constitutional turning point, a moment that will be remembered alongside Heller and Bruin. It has affirmed that the Second Amendment is not a second-class right. It protects the arms that Americans actually use for self-defense, not just the ones politicians deem acceptable. But this is not the end. The political shockwaves are already hitting Washington, D.C. Anti-gun politicians are in a panic, drafting new federal bills to try and undo this victory. This is a massive win, but it is not a reason to become complacent. Victories are only permanent if we, the people, defend them. So, what must you do now? First, stay informed. The laws are changing rapidly. Know your rights under this new precedent. Second, support the fight. The organizations that funded this lawsuit, like the Firearms Policy Coalition and Gun Owners of America, are now fighting dozens of other cases just like it. They need your support. Third, stay politically active. Do not let lawmakers pass new, disguised restrictions. And fourth, educate others. Share this video. Arm your friends and family with the truth so that misinformation cannot spread. This victory proves that persistence works. It proves that the Constitution is on our side. But the opposition never quits, and neither can we. The future of the Second Amendment depends on citizens who remain vigilant and ready to push back. So here's the real question. Is this truly the end of magazine bans nationwide, or is it just the beginning of an even bigger fight? Drop your answer in the comments. Do you think this is the final nail in the coffin, or will the anti-gun states invent new tricks to resist? And remember, like this video and subscribe to the channel because the next ruling could come at any moment, and you'll want to be the first to know. Stay sharp, stay informed, and above all, stay free.